Hello and greetings from Iceland. As usual, we have plenty to cover, and I'm starting today's tour Friday morning on the westernmost part of the peninsula, where I never get bored filming, and I can't get enough of footage from there. But this time, it was just a bit too windy for the type of videos I was going after, or on the coast, where the mid-Atlantic ridge becomes Iceland, and we have just so many elements there, very visual, like remains from offshore eruptions, onshore eruptions, and even eruptions that started offshore and migrated onshore. And it is around here where the magnitude 5.2 struck just recently. It was an earthquake related to changes in tension in the crust, according to the Met Office, likely triggered by the deflating magma chamber. However, Professor Þorvaldur Þórðarson, he was not buying into that. And he has been saying for a while that the next eruption that might occur could be around here and even offshore. And I can easily buy into that because this area has been causing problems for a long time. And strange earthquakes started to occur even before the first eruption on the peninsula. So I've been filming here every now and then since then, because we might have history in the making around here. And my plan last Friday was to film around the eroded craters, where we have this unique cross-section. And I got that idea from a video I watched recently, where Professor Sean Wilsey was walking around there, poking around in what can be described as a candy store for geology nerds. So I'm linking to that video because it dives deep into the details. And as I was checking the news there, I found out that Grindavík had just opened like I hoped for travelers. So I drove straight into Grindavík for fish and chips. And they know what fresh fish means around here. And as often before, I was not disappointed stopping by at Papa's in Grindavík. And after that, I did some drone flying, of course, for the close-ups that I could not shoot the day before when I was also filming around there. And I was actually quite pleased with the results because New Lama is a very interesting subject. So I'm making that into separate videos because I can only squeeze so much into my regular updates like this, but Grindavík is no longer my main focus point, at least not for a while. So we are back to triggered earthquakes, which is a certain type of earthquakes, almost never discussed before these events on the Reykjanes Peninsula. But now we are getting them all the time, or are we? So we need to dive into that because this is important. Triggered earthquakes are generally considered to be earthquakes that occur due to stress changes in the crust. It's no doubt in my mind that such earthquakes occur, and we have been getting a lot of them. And actually so many of them that it is simple to go to explanation has led to new questions from an old story that doesn't have to be true. But it is about a new employee at a pharmacy who was learning how to pack the medications for customers. And he notices a huge jar full of pills and asks, "That's a lot of pills. Who gets them?" And the old pharmacist, he looks at the newbie and says, "These are the pills we use when we don't understand the doctor's handwriting on the prescriptions." And as for triggered earthquakes, I have a tendency to look at them as the white pills in a big jar somewhere in the Met Office, especially when it comes to newbies or the names that I'm not familiar with already, because they are often in the news. So I tend to listen to the professors rather than the students, like Professor Þorvaldur Þórðarson was saying the other day, that he is not buying into that the magnitude 5.2 earthquake can be explained as a triggered earthquake from the events near Grindavík. And those of you who might remember some of my oldest videos that are still online, this part of the peninsula has a will on its own. It has its own plans regardless of what is going on by Grindavík. So this explanation like a triggered earthquake, I think it's a bit cheap. But we have got more such earthquakes called triggered, and the last such earthquake swarm occurred in the valley Móhálsadalur, while the magma dike was expanding, and the valley Móhálsadalur is way closer to the magma dike. But even so, I'm not quite convinced. And if I were to bet on it, I would say that we have a separate event going on there as a part of the earthquake story that started after the 2023 eruption around there, eruption number 3 by the mountain Litli-Hrútur. And that is where I have been filming with the thermal drone, finding at least 2 spots that are hotter than we should expect them to be. So I have always covered that area as a separate event. But one of the biggest news for me, something that hasn't been mentioned so much, is the fact that the magma dike that is for sure a part of the Svartsengi volcanic system, it has literally crawled almost into the Krýsuvík volcanic system, into a separate system. So there I'm back to a question that I've asked before actually. Is the so-called Svartsengi system, that is sometimes called the Svartsengi-Fagradalsfjall system now, is it the same system as the so-called Krýsuvík system, since this magma intrusion event is literally opening into that system? And when I think back, I remember very clearly when one of our experts, I think it was Professor Þorvaldur, I can't confirm it, but this expert was, however, saying that we might need to redefine those 6 systems on the peninsula. And what made me remember this comment was the fact that when I was forming my channel for this, I made several maps to use in numerous videos, like I'm often using this one. And I ran into problems when I was making the layers that outline the volcanic systems. Because when I was looking for information, I got so many versions, depending on the sources. So I kind of went with the mainstream and made my own map from the most common versions out there. But I never felt perfectly okay about my own map because of that. But I can, however, say now that I feel as I understand a bit better why experts say that when one of those systems takes off, the others follow. And although this map might not be correct, we might be seeing now how they trigger each other, because this dike is going into a separate volcanic system. Or that is what my uneducated guess is. And although this long event started quite simple, this is turning into this remarkable geological and tectonic event in live TV from the middle of the Atlantic, the part of the mid-Atlantic ridge that happens to be above sea level, on a hotspot that comes up with enormous amount of magma. And even though April 1st turned out to come up with the smallest and shortest eruption in the known history of Icelandic geology, its significance might be more than one think as a part of a more complicated storyboard. And ground uplift has been confirmed again, but I don't look at it as the story of the day right now, not until I see the flow rate. And this is not a surprise. I didn't expect the magma inflow to just stop like this in an instant. And scientists will need more data points over a longer period of time to say where we are in all this. Has the inflow decreased or increased? So I'm not making that into a story right now. I need a bit more information before I dive into that new reality of ours. And after my tour to Grindavík yesterday, I figured that I had filmed more or less everything of use this time, and it became more important for me to have my own desk to work from, to get things going, because I came back with what I believe to be good stories to work with. And that's what I'm doing now. And I'm also working on videos like this, drive around tours from last summer. And I just got a music license clearance confirmed yesterday for what might be my longest video so far. And it sets the tone for other such videos to come, shot from the hood of my car, sometimes mixed with drone footage to explain the landscape even better. But this is in fact just a new department on my channel. We can call it slow TV. It's a category on its own. And it's also a new way to make full use of my driving tours. It is sometimes a bit frustrating to come back with a nice driving or drone tour on a memory card, and then I might just show a fraction of the travel, because there are types of people out there that would love to have the chance to see this on a big screen and just chill while touring with me, get the whole package. But the music choice was a very difficult task, and I am experimenting there. But the music doesn't have to be the big deal, because you have always the chance to put this on silent or use your own favorite tunes. But the basic idea is simple, and I'm actually sure that many of the geology nerds on my channel will also like this, just for the landscape. So don't be surprised when those videos start to pop up from the collection that I've been processing this winter. And this is not changing in any way the content that I have on my channel already. This is just addition to what I've been already doing. And I have also several short videos coming soon from the last eruption. Like I'm working now on a close-up video from the lava berm where the eruption came through it. So I felt as that footage deserves its own little video to show this as well as I can. Because as always, my updates have limitations as for how much footage I can show there. So it's plenty to come. April will be a very busy month on the channel. And with that, I'm sending you best regards from the volcano island, Iceland.